wanted to do a quick little video here as we have wrapped up the primary spoiler season and are waiting on media kits to get the last few cards. This video is going to look at leaders in Star Wars, and it's going to look at some of the leaders in the new set. Just so we know what we're going through here, first off, the kind of shameless plug. If you have not subscribed to Saber 4, the channel, please do so now. It really helps me kind of get a little bit more traction with this, and it's just kind of fun to see what happens. Leaders, what we're going to go through is we're going to talk about different leaders and how they operate. Part of this is going to be a kind of 101, and the rest of it is going to be the new leaders by aspect. So we're going to go first by action economy and talk about kind of what those things do, and then we'll talk about action churning and the thing that you can do with leaders. And then we will cover the new ones here at the end. So, what is a static ability leader? A static ability leader is something that is always active. The unit keeps that static ability and adds a specific bonus when you move on to the leader's side. These are the primary static leaders that are in the game right now, and a lot of them are doing things like they are either ignoring an aspect penalty when you talk about Nalase or Hera, or they are adding to a unit when you see something like Krennic or Gar Saxon. Each of these, when they flip, continue to keep that primary ability and then add something else to it as they go. These are not action churning leaders. Their ability doesn't allow you to do anything, and that is important when you start talking about things like Twin Suns. Reactive abilities. These do have a action in some cases, as you would see with Iden. Iden has to have a unit die, and then she can react. On her flip side, she keeps that ability, except that it is an automatic trigger. Cad Bane is a completely reactive ability. Boba was also a reactive ability. So when you meet a condition, you can choose to react, exhaust, and deal the damage. Other examples of here, and you're going to see this with the rest of them, things like Jango Fett, Grand Admiral Thrawn from Jump To Lightspeed, Boba Fett, Quinlan Voss. Often these things will allow you to double dip. So like double dipping would be Cad Bane deploys a unit on his leader side, pings for damage, deploys as a leader, and then on his unit side deploys another underworld unit and pings again. So these are kind of enhanced on that leader side, and they usually keep some of the similar abilities. Quinlan, pinging damage, Jango Fett, exhausting units, things like that, but it is enhanced on that leader ability. The third kind here, resource or action cheating. And so here we start to see some of our new leaders and some of our old favorites. These are things that allow you to either gain action advantage or gain a cost reduction. So things like Han Solo, both of the Han Solos that are here, will allow you to play units earlier in the game, as will Admiral Piet, because they're either direct discounting or, in the case of Yellow Han, resource cheating. For Leia, what we're able to do is that we're able to action cheat. We're able to use her ability and attack all at once, and especially on that leader side, we're able to attack with her and then attack with another unit. And so we can always keep initiative if we want it, as long as we're not just spamming units. Damage dealing and healing. Satisfy a condition and either do the damage or heal. Healing is really only in the case of Obi-Wan here. We will see some more later down the road with Rose Tico specifically. But in a lot of cases, what we're looking at is we have to do a thing first. So with Darth Vader, with Bo-Katan, with Mace Windu, we have to have satisfied a condition and then either pay a cost or have paid a cost because we deployed a unit, and then we can do our damage. Deck modification. This allows you to draw, discard, or replace, either from hand or for deck, or allows searching the deck for cards. This allows you to filter a little bit in the case of something like Yoda, or to run through discard, like Dr. Alpha, Admiral Trench. Cassian Andor allows me to draw cards. Emperor Palpatine allows you to draw cards. Um, Hunter does this to a degree, but probably the worst in the game. Um, they can have some secondary effects or bonuses based on how they filter. For example, Kylo Ren here, as you discard units, you're not only growing the Kylo deploy, but you're also able to discard a unit and gain a +2/+0 for one of your units for the phase. And then we have unit altering. And these are going to modify a unit that's in play. Um, Great examples of this would be Grand Moff Tarkin and Rey, who will add a experience token to things. IG-88, though he's rarely used, every friendly unit gains raid 1, so you put him out on turn 5. He's a decent sized body with a 5/4, but attacks for 6, and everything else that's on the table, if you can flip him early, gains raid 1. Anakin Skywalker, same thing. Deal a little bit of damage to your base, attack into a bigger unit. I've included other examples I'm not going to read about. So most of these involve an action or a cost. So in the case of like Grand Moff Tarkin or of Rey, what you're going to see is that you pay a cost, exhaust the leader, add the experience token. You can wind up playing a little bit behind curve, but you get an advantage out of it. Another great example of this would be adding the shield when you're talking about Lando or talking about Luke Skywalker or Kiara. So, and then we have game state altering, and there's really only a few of these. This changes the state of cards that are in the field and allows you to exhaust. Django is one of these to another degree. But really the biggest game state altering here is Chancellor Palpatine, because he allows a player to shift between playing hero and villainy back and forth. And so that really allows a major change in game state as he flips. Grand Inquisitor, ready in cards, Admiral Akbar playing and exhausting units. And then Thrawn is the other example that we have here with the ability to exhaust and look at your opponent's deck and your own. Token generators, 3 of the primaries here, the new one being Darth Vader. These are going to spit out a token or tokens, depending on what you're doing. Sometimes you're going to see a cost involved here. Newt Gunray, 2 friendly units defeated. He can put out a battle droid token. Darth Vader, you have to attack with a vehicle. Captain Rex needs to have attacked with a friendly unit, and then he can create a clone trooper. Some of these cost a resource, some of them cost a unit action, but you're able to continue to churn tokens with these. Move into the new leaders. We're going to do these by aspect, and we'll talk about a little bit of them as we go through. In Vigilance, we have Asajj Ventress, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Lando Calrissian, Rose Tico. I'll tell you, I'm not excited to play with any of the heroism stuff here. 7 is a big number to deploy, and when you're talking about I get a 5/7 Sentinel out of it or a 5/5 pilot, I'm not thrilled with that, even though that's a big body. And being able to, the condition for a shield is just not good. I've got to have a ground and a space unit. I can't reasonably think that I'm going to activate this until at least turn 2 or 3. And that's if I've thrown out very small units, and then it's putting me behind curve to do so. So I'm not thrilled by Lando's ability at all. Rose, same thing. I've got, we're going to get some vehicle heavy decks here, but I have to have attacked with a vehicle, and that vehicle has to then survive and have damage on it, and then I get to heal 2 damage. Her leader side is slightly better because you don't have to have attacked with the vehicle yet. But it's still 2 damage. The body's not bad at a 4/6 for 5, but I'm not impressed. Both of the Vigilance leaders for villainy come down on 6. 6 is not a bad place for my leaders, but it's about the latest that I want to see them happen. The body on both is fine. I'm interested as I play around on putting Asajj in her ship, and you can create some really wicked swings with that, because you've got a big body in space, and you can do some damage to it and do some more damage to it with Asajj, and then wind up with a ship that all of a sudden is swinging for 13. But I'm I've got no protection at all from somebody popping some kind of upgrade hate, and then I've got nothing. Um, but a very heavily damaged ship. Grand Admiral Thrawn, I've had a lot of fun playing with. Being able to use when defeated abilities, especially using them in conjunction with exploit, so that I know that I'm defeating my own units from time to time, has been fun to kind of mess with and play around. He's one of those that I'm more excited than the others to play with. Command, Admiral Piet, I think, is going to be a monster, cheating out capital ships and being able to throw some things out there earlier than expected. You can put some really big, ugly bodies in space very early, and especially if you play him with blue and have Krennic on the board, because that will allow you to push out units that have a when defeated up to 3 resources early. And that can really, really get some amazing stuff out there. Also with this, like the new ship that does the resupply carrier. Resupply carrier, I'm not thrilled to put down a 6 cost 4/6, but if I can put it down for 5, or if I can put it down for 4 and it ramps me, 4/6 is not a terrible space body on 4 resources, knowing that I ramped as well. Darth Vader is also fun to play with, and good grief, you better interact with his units, because he can really get out of hand. The downside to Vader, again, being that he's making 1/1 tokens. They're easy to do something like clear the field to, or otherwise to just kind of neuter them. And he is not himself immune to any kind of upgrade hate. And so putting him down as a pilot is, the probably best place you're going to put him. Otherwise, he's just a vanilla 5/6. Not bad, but late for that size body. Admiral Hodo, I will probably light most of those that I find on fire. That's, going to wind up being the showcase that I pull. There's just not enough of the resistance tribe out there right now for me to think that action churning to give a resistance unit and then wind up being able to use that unit is going to be very good. Wedge is a little bit more interesting. There's a lot of piloting, and if I can discount piloting and discount and get some things onto vehicles, you really can have some fun with what he does. So Wedge, I'm kind of excited to see. Moving on here, we're going to get into the last two, and the last two both have 3 because the bonus leaders here are going to wind up with, or they're going to each have 5 because they have 3 on a heroism or villainy. First off, Boba Fett. I've had a lot of fun trying to figure out if indirect damage is going to be enough. Because if you can kind of control the board and keep things small, you can really squeeze things with Boba Fett, because he allows you to do some things like putting the new fire spray, the new small fire spray out there, and getting indirect damage, which does 3 with him on the table before he flips. His flip is very nice, even if somebody gets rid of him as an upgrade, because he does the little mini barrage. He's a lot more interesting to play with than some of the others that are here. Captain Phasma suffers from some of that same problem that we're looking at with Admiral Holdo. There's a little bit more first order, and there's a little bit more strength to some of them, but there's just not that much of that tribe. So she's one that I think might get better as we go along. I always like to be able to play a card to get a free ping. And this time I'm pinging to base rather than pinging a unit. The body at 5 is decent. Major Von Rig, kind of the same thing. This is the earliest that we've seen a 5 health villainy leader be able to deploy. He's cute when you can stick him in his TIE fighter, and his TIE fighter all of a sudden gains all the bonuses, and gets the raid, gets the 3/3 pilot, gets to add to its attack, but vulnerable to upgrade hate. And if they interact with your units, you're putting down a 2/5 on 4. And there's a lot of things that can outrace a 2/5. I will tell you that I will definitely be making a Luke Skywalker deck, because I want to put him in red 5 and do trench runs, and I don't care that you're going to blow things up with upgrades. it's just one of those things that, as a longtime Star Wars fan, I feel like I'm meant to try. Um, Poe is very interesting. Poe is another very new action here, and there's three things that got some really changes to how leaders work. Poe allowing you to flip him to his upgrade side is a interesting mechanic because you could do this as early as turn one. You put a cartel turncoat down, pop Poe into it, and you've got a big ship ready for the next round. Um, and if he's defeated, all right, well, I just get to use him again. It also has some interesting mechanic if you are in command with something like eject, where you could play Poe as an upgrade, swing with your unit, eject him, and have a 4/6 on the ground before having to use his epic action. Because playing him as an upgrade does not use his epic. So it is a very interesting mechanic to be able to throw your leader out multiple times. And we'll see that again when we get over here to Cunning. Cunning really has been the place that this game has made leaders the most interesting. These, I feel like, are usually the most unique actions. Um, it had Chancellor Palpatine, it had the Han in the first set. It's had Boba Fett, it's had Jango, it's had some of the more impactful leaders just because they do things that the rest of the aspects just don't. Here, Admiral Trench, we have the first leader that can deploy multiple times. Now, the caveat being that you have to pay 3 to deploy him, and you can't do it until you're on 6 resources. 6 feels late, but you're always going to be able to draw cards and try to filter and churn through your deck. But feels kind of late for a body, even though you can continue to deploy him. Rio, same thing as Major Von Rig. We have enough transports to do stuff, and his ship is a transport, but I don't love the idea of putting out my first turn play and not being able to ready it until I do something else to it. It's a 3/3, and I can make it a nice big 6/8 with Saboteur and gets a 7 attack and yay. But I'm not as thrilled with Rio as some of these others here. Admiral Akbar kind of suffers from the idea that do I want to exhaust your unit and give you a token? I'm not sure. I haven't figured out how to play with Admiral Akbar in a way that I like it yet. Han Solo has been fun. It's another very thematic thing to be able to go never tell me the odds and then do exactly that to make your deck as odd costed as you can, so that you have the ability to ready a stack of resources, do a bunch of other things like that right on his flip. Also, his action is a free action, and allows you to directly attack. So it's not a thing that is going to cost you extra. And if you know that your deck is almost all odd cards, then it's a free pump on an action. So he has some interesting stuff built in there. So does Kazuya, and here Kazuya turns off all of the stuff. And as I've kind of gone through and we've prepped for this set, what we've noticed is that the turning off abilities blanks the card, and the new part of that is that it doesn't allow you to add more things back. So you could blank one of your own cards and then heroic sacrifice with it, gain the bonus, but not sacrifice the card at the end. And that's very new to this set and very new to how they did things. I was not a huge fan of that because they already had wording to do that with Imprisoned, but it's not my game to design. So really cool though here that he is able to use his action and then take the extra action. And so that's going to allow you to be able to turn something off and then claim if you need to, or to turn off a bounty, or turn off an ability that is potentially detrimental to you. His ship damages itself at the end of the round. So it allows you to turn off one of those actions and then take the next thing as long as you're on the leader side, and then turn off any number of abilities when he's a unit. So just new interactions and a couple of things here that Cunning has once again provided us with the most volume of unique interaction in the game. If you've enjoyed these videos, please consider again subscribing to the channel. Really would like to hear kind of what you think about these leaders and where we're going with this set. We're about 2 weeks out now, and so looking forward to release. We'll see you guys around.